Hi everyone, I just wanted to do a quick update on my veggie garden at the moment. Recently, as recent as last weekend, I decided to uproot all the sweet potatoes I had at the other end of the garden up there, and I decided to replant them into this end to actually do a bit of a crop rotation to try and get rid of them out of the soil down there. Hopefully it stops promoting fungus and stuff like that from growing in the soil, and should give me a better yield with the crop this year, hopefully. Although, you know, it's every 3 months actually is when I'm getting a harvest out of them. So in about 3 months time, these ones here should be ready to rock. We've got our lettuces going on here. They're all going to head though, so it's a bit too warm for them, which is interesting. We had a heap of rain for quite some time, and now that the rain's gone, the sun's come back out, and as soon as that sun come out, it's promoted it to actually go to head, so it's starting to seed. What I could do is just let it progress, let it go to seed fully, and then just keep weeding this part of the ground around here, especially for grasses and nut grass and stuff like that, especially the weeds I can actually identify, such as these little ones. Keep removing them and then keep watering it, and over time what will happen is the seeds from the actual germination from the actual lettuce itself will start to germinate in this area alone, and hopefully we can get another crop of lettuces out of it. Over here, of course, we've got our tomatoes. This is a plant that was bought at the nursery, and it seems to be doing pretty good. It's giving a decent type of yield. Each day I'm collecting, a couple of handfuls of tomatoes, not just off this one here, but also of the one up here as well. These tomatoes up here, they come up naturally, so basically we've been composting in this garden since we moved here. This area here, this is basically a tomato crop, so we've been growing tomatoes in this area for the last 18 months. So what will happen is these will go to fruition just as they are. We'll collect as many tomatoes as we can off it. The tomato plants themselves will die back. Any of the tomatoes that are falling on the ground, such as these small ones here, if you back up under here, all their seeds will go back into the ground, and then we can just maintain it of weeds and stuff like that, any weeds we can identify, and then over time the tomatoes will start to germinate again, and we'll get our third crop out of it. After, like 3 crops, you should probably do a bit of a crop rotation, and it is overdue already. Otherwise you start getting funguses and stuff like that growing on the leaves, so it could be time after that one last run to actually move the crop elsewhere, maybe to where that pumpkin is growing there. We've got some cucumbers growing here as well. That was also bought from the nursery and planted in. It's given off a decent yield as well. And then back up here I have got some more sweet potatoes going in here. This is a bit of an experiment. So this is the area that I grew the sweet potatoes in the first place. As such, what's going to happen is over time, after 2 or 3 different crops in the same area, you start to promote funguses in the soil and diseases in the soil. It's not a fantastic experiment to be trying to take hold of, but I'm going to give it a crack anyway. I just want to see how many crops I can get out of here before I start having issues with it. So as you can see, this is all planted back in last weekend. The leaves are starting to brighten back up again now. They were all wilted for a while. They don't look like much now, but give it another month and there will be sweet potatoes all through here. This area here, I'm going to look at putting in some seedlings that I've got lined up, and I'll show you the seedlings up here. Now these are the pumpkins too, so the pumpkins are starting to go to fruit as well. This pumpkin plant itself, it literally had till this weekend to start producing. If it didn't start producing by today, basically, I was going to pull it out. There was a pumpkin plant up that end as well, been there for 6 months, and it failed to produce anything. So I yanked it out, and I'm putting the sweet potatoes back in there. But here, as you can see, there's starting to be quite a few fruits coming on. You see this quite often though, and they fail to germinate and they just drop off. But as you can see from there, down in there, they're actually starting to produce decent fruits, and they're taking hold, which is a positive thing. So I come out here early this morning, broke off a few of the male flowers, such as this one here, ran around and pollinated the female flowers, such as this one here. So I just broke it off and I rubbed the pollen back inside there, and that should hopefully help it germinate with a bit of luck. Keep making our way back up this way. So up here on this table, I've got a collection of seedlings. Nothing's really happening with them just yet. They've been in for a week, so no seedlings have come up just yet. I had a variety of different seeds: corn, squash, lettuce, spinach, stuff like that. And I had to put them in this box because what was happening was the birds were digging the seeds out and rodents were digging the seeds out. You come along a couple of weekends ago and you'd see a whole heap of digging marks around here right down to where the seed was, and they've just uprooted them and taken them out. So I put them inside this box to try and stop that from happening. And as you can see, it gets quite a bit of humidity in here, so it just evaporates the water out of them. The water's gathering to one end there as well, so we could technically reuse that to water the plants again if we had to. And that's it. That's the update of my weird veggie garden. Cheers. Actually, there was one more thing. And this is the garden on the other side. So obviously you've got that garden over there in awesome sunlight. And then over here we're growing our basil and that. This basil plant's been going for about 12 months now. It's a real trooper, obviously. It just keeps going to seed. Seed keeps dropping back into the garden, and new basil plants are popping up quite regularly actually. So even now there was a couple of basil plants going over in amongst here, and the smell of it is absolutely amazing. We've got a bit of parsley in here as well, a bit of rosemary as well, and then another tomato plant. Now these tomato plants, I didn't plant them, they're actually just germinating from the seeds that were here previously, but as you can see they're dying off, and I'm guessing that's either a fungus because they got too wet during the rainy period and there wasn't quite enough sunlight here to evaporate moisture off the leaves, which results in a fungus growing on the leaves, and over time it's just killed them off. But we're still getting a bit of a yield off here. Each day I come out, I'm still picking, you know, 4 or 5 different fruits off it a day. It's not a great deal, but it's better than nothing.